Hey, what's up, my friends? Now we're going to talk about how the cycle of calorie addiction works. So, the traditional medical view on obesity for over 100 years has been that obese people struggle with overeating. No big surprise there. And while that's technically true, it should be made clear that they're not overeating food, they're overeating calories. And what I mean by that is that our overeating urges are very selective. None of us lust for lettuce the way we do for, say, a chocolate scone from Starbucks. We have a natural preference for sweet, starchy, fatty foods because that's where all the calories are concentrated. Think about hunting and gathering and what it would take to be efficient. There was a time before drive-through burgers and frozen dinners when we really had to work hard to get our calories. And prehistorically speaking, it doesn't make sense to spend all day long collecting types of food that on average won't even provide at least a day's worth of calories. So we evolved to crave food with the highest bang for the buck when it comes to caloric density. If you were able to steadily forage a pound of food per hour and you had 250 calories per pound in the food, it might take up to 10 hours just to break even on the calories you need for the day. But if you were gathering stuff with 500 calories a pound or more, you could be done in 5 hours. You could spend the next 5 hours practicing your wall paintings. So the greater the energy density, the more calories per pound, the better your foraging would finish. For that reason, we developed an acute ability to discriminate foods based on calorie density, and now we instinctively desire the densest. If you study the fruit and vegetable consumption of 4-year-old children, their preferences always match up to calorie density. They prefer bananas over berries and carrots over cucumbers. You may say, well, yeah, that's just a preference for sweetness, but they also prefer potatoes over peaches and green beans over melon. We appear to have an inborn drive to maximize calories per mouthful. So all of the food that was tested naturally was less than 500 calories per pound. Bananas were the highest with about 400. But something really strange happens when you start going into a higher calorie density. We seem to lose the ability to differentiate. Within the natural range, we can differentiate the subtle distinctions in calorie density, but once you start moving into, say, bacon and chips and candy bars, which can have thousands of calories per pound, our perceptions become totally numb to the differences. And no wonder, since these foods were totally unknown to our prehistoric brains. It's like how the dodo bird never evolved a fear response because they had no natural predators. And we know how that ended up. Or the sea turtle hatchlings that you hear about that crawl toward the artificial light rather than the moon. This behavior is explained by an evolutionary mismatch. The food industry, unfortunately, exploits our biological vulnerabilities by stripping crops down to become almost pure calories, straight oil, sugar, and white flour, which is just refined starch. First, they have to remove all the fiber because it effectively has 0 calories. If you run brown rice through a mill and make it white, you lose 2/3 of the fiber. If you turn wheat flour into white flour, you lose 75% of the fiber. Or you can run crops through animals for meat, eggs, and dairy, and then you remove 100% of the fiber. What you're left with is crap, an acronym originated by a prominent dietitian named Jeff Novick. CRAP stands for calorie-rich and processed food. Calories are condensed in the same way that plants are turned into addictive drugs like opiates and cocaine. Concentration, crystallization, distillation, and extraction. They even appear to activate the same reward pathways in our brains. If you take people and put them on an MRI scan that have food addiction, and you show them a chocolate milkshake in a picture, the same areas light up in their brain as with cocaine addicts when you show them a video of somebody smoking crack. So food addiction is actually misnamed a bit. What people really suffer from is more of a calorie addiction. And it's not just food in general, right? We don't crave carrots. Milkshakes are packed with sugar and fat, and that's why the food addicts respond that way. Those are signals to the brain of calorie density. When people are asked to rank different foods in terms of cravings and where they feel out of control with their eating, the most incriminated ones were the loads of crap, the highly processed foods like donuts along with cheese and meat. The foods that were the least related to problematic eating behaviors were fruits and vegetables. Calorie density is probably the reason people don't wake up in the middle of the night and smash these bowls of broccoli in their fridge, right? There's no animal in nature, including us, that becomes fat when they eat a natural diet. And in our early days as humans, before we learned how to hunt, our biology evolved primarily on leaves, roots, fruits, and nuts. And in order for us to reclaim our health, we have to fight the good fight and get back to our natural way of eating and cut out the crap.